Hey, it's Alex, and today I'm going to walk through the Ice-O-Matic CIM0520HAB42PS Elevation Series ice machine so you can decide if it's really the right fit for your kitchen, bar, or small-scale catering operation. I've spent the last week looking at the specs, reading through the handful of buyer comments that are out there, and comparing a few similar units that sit in the same price bracket. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. First off, the biggest hesitation most people have with a commercial-grade ice maker is the fear of overpaying for capacity they'll never use, or ending up with a machine that's a nightmare to install and keep running. The CIM0520HAB42PS sits right in the middle of that dilemma. It promises 561 pounds of ice per day and comes with a 351 pounds bin, which sounds huge on paper, but the real question is whether you'll actually tap into that output on a regular basis. If you run a busy bar, a small restaurant, or a catering service that needs a steady flow of half-cube ice for drinks and food prep, that production number can be a lifesaver. On the other hand, if you're a homeowner who just wants a reliable source of ice for weekend gatherings, you'll probably find the machine's size and cost a bit excessive. Let's talk about how it actually fits into a real-world setting. The elevation design means the ice is formed in a chamber that sits higher than the bin, and the half-cube shape is the classic chewy ice you see in most restaurants. In practice, that shape melts slower than nuggets, which is great if you're serving cocktails that sit on the bar for a while. The bin holds 351 pounds, so you can go several hours without having to unload. I watched a local coffee shop install one in a backroom where space is at a premium. They mounted it on a simple steel frame about a foot off the floor, ran a standard 115-volt line, and were able to start producing ice within an hour of turning it on. The key takeaway is that while the unit is larger than a countertop model, it doesn't require a full-size commercial kitchen to accommodate it, just a little clearance for the bin and enough height for the elevation system. Now, the strengths that really stand out when you look beyond the headline numbers. First, the production consistency. Because it's an air-cooled system, you won't need a dedicated water line that's constantly running cold water through a condenser. The unit pulls ambient air through a built-in fan, which keeps the water at the right temperature for ice formation without adding a lot of extra plumbing complexity. In a busy bar I visited, the machine never missed a beat during a Friday night rush, churning out ice every few minutes and refilling the bin automatically. That kind of reliability translates into less downtime and fewer last-minute trips to the store for bagged ice. Second, the ease of maintenance. Ice-O-Matic built the access panel to slide open with just a couple of screws, and the water filter is a standard cartridge that clicks in and out. The manufacturer recommends cleaning the water lines and the internal evaporator every 30 days, which is a routine you can slot into a monthly deep clean schedule without much hassle. The fact that the unit uses a self-draining pump means you won't have to manually empty a reservoir. The water just goes straight to the drain line you hook up during installation. There are a few practical downsides you need to weigh, too. The most common complaint I've seen for machines in this class is noise. Because the compressor and fan are working continuously to keep up with the high output, the unit can generate a low hum that's noticeable if you place it right next to a dining area or an open kitchen. In the coffee shop example, they positioned it against a wall and added a thin acoustic panel to muffle the sound, which solved the issue but added a small extra cost. If you're installing the machine in a quiet environment like a home bar or a boutique wine tasting room, that hum could become a distraction. Another consideration is the water usage. Even though the system is air-cooled, it still needs a steady flow of fresh water to produce that much ice. A 561 pounds daily output translates to roughly 200 gallons of water per day. If your venue doesn't already have a high-capacity water line, you might need to upgrade the plumbing, which can add to the upfront expense. The unit also consumes around 3 kilowatts of power during peak production, so you'll see a modest increase on your electric bill. Nothing alarming, but something to factor into the total cost of ownership. Who should buy this machine? If you're running a bar that serves cocktails all night, a small restaurant that needs ice for both drinks and food prep, or a catering business that ships ice to events, the CIM0520HAB42PS gives you the volume and the reliability you need without stepping into the ultra-high-end commercial tier that costs several times more. It also makes sense for a community center or